just about Ryan here, and I just about got my voice back from watching last night's Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. Yeah, I completely lost my voice. That was an insane race, and to be honest, I feel like a new tradition has started, and I hope that they keep the Daytona race there for at least one more year. I don't know if it'll always impress like this, but this current super speedway racing, especially when you're looking at the points the whole time, like we had to pretty much because of the situation here with the championship. But that was probably the best super speedway racing. Like, this package is probably the best super speedway racing I've seen, like, after they made the adjustments after the Daytona 500. So yeah, so let's go through it. Obviously, William Byron getting that all-important first win of his career puts himself into the playoff picture. Of course, he would have had enough points anyway because, unfortunately, one of those late wrecks was Jimmy Johnson. I don't exactly remember. So Denny Hamlin just kind of hooked Logano late in the race, triggering a big one. Actually, while Bubba Wallace was looking to take the lead, Wallace manages to escape with still a top 5 even with that damaged car, and even Jimmy Johnson himself fought all the way back to a 17th place finish in the final running order. So he definitely, I think Jimmy did what he needed to. What I feel like if you looked at this race coming in, what he needed to do was to survive. He survived, just not as well as De Benedetto up in the top 10. And, De Benedetto got a, where did he finish? Oh, he finished 12th, okay. But yeah, De Benedetto finished 12th. Good enough, barely, to stay in. Only about 6 points above Johnson after all this. And then, of course, the win and you're in for Byron, so it didn't even really matter. Just kind of typical Daytona stuff, really, for the most part. I mean, you got a lot of Fords up near the front. A lot more Chevrolet than I was initially expecting, though I kind of figured they'd be the second best manufacturer here tonight. All week, I kind of put zero faith in any of the Toyotas, really. I put Denny Hamlin in my lineup for fantasy, basically because I had him. But yeah, so Denny Hamlin finishing third, that was pretty good. And MTJ even. Didn't remember MTJ being up there, but hey, good job for him. But then pretty much the rest of the top 15, top 20 was all Chevy and Ford because, of course, Toyota doesn't quite have the numbers. I think Christopher Bell got in there for a top 15, but it was really a Chevy versus Ford battle. And, of course, you had the points battle all throughout this race. Also, you had the wreck with Reddick, where Reddick just kind of rookie mistake. I mean, he's a rookie, and I'm a big Kyle Busch fan, and I'm not gonna. I'll take it easy on him because this is really, I think, his first real rookie mistake that took anybody out, other than himself. Like, I think he had some bad luck at like Phoenix earlier this year, where he before the pandemic, where he ended up with a DNF. Same thing at Auto Club, but I don't remember him actually ending up messing up anybody else's day other than his own at those two races. And then, of course, you had at Homestead, where he really made his first real big rookie mistake, although it didn't cost him a spot, where he thought the race was over and had one more lap to go. But this was really, I think, Reddick's first big rookie mistake. Just came up in front of Kyle Busch, didn't have quite the gap. I think maybe, I mean, I've driven on iRacing before. I mean, the sight lines aren't perfect, so yeah, I can understand kind of where you think, okay, I got to make the move. He was racing up there for the win or the playoff berth. We had like 20, 25 laps to go at that point. You got to make a move sometimes. I just think he should have committed to the bottom, maybe taking his lumps for slowing down there. Maybe wait, try and side draft a little bit coming through the front stretch. But in the end, he made the move he did. Kyle Busch did everything, I think, in his power to really try not to wreck that thing. Ended up in the wall and then checked up and ended up collecting. Jones, all three playoff contenders got through the big one, which was really amazing to see. Of course, unfortunately, the second big wreck took out Jimmy, but, well, didn't even take him out. He finished on the lead lap, but it took him out of contention for the playoffs. But yeah, you had you had that big wreck. It took out Jones. It took out a lot of your your in guys. Took out Jones. Took out Stenhouse. Took out McDowell. Took out Ryan Newman. Right there's most of my fantasy lineup. Unfortunately, right there in that one wreck, took out 3 of my 5, or 3 of my 6 playoff, or 3 of my 6 fantasy live drivers. But yeah, so that was a big wreck. I'm sure Reddick learned, and even just listening to his post-race interview, definitely sounds like, and from the looks of it, I didn't even think it looked intentional when I first saw it. So, hope Reddick learns what he needs to from that. I mean, I think he is still. I mean, I said this. I was talking with a Reddick fan on Twitter earlier today about it. And really, in the end, it's like, okay, yeah, Kyle and Reddick are probably both going to go on to win plenty more races and maybe even more championships. I think both of them are easily still capable of getting titles throughout the rest of their careers. So, in the end, this is just going to be one incident. It's not going to be the last time Kyle Busch gets wrecked. It's still 2020. So, so both Busch brothers are gone. Eric Jones gone, and that really shaped this race into potentially a Joey Logano victory race, because he was up there and could have tied his teammate for the most wins in the Penske organization this year at 3 apiece, because Logano's yet to win since the pandemic, which I find kind of interesting, because he won 2 of the 4 prior to the pandemic, and then all of a sudden the pandemic, he just loses all competitiveness. Not necessarily all competitiveness, but all winning speed. Apart from that one Bristol race where he had some winning speed and then Elliott got up into him. But other than that, it really comes down to the fact that I think Logano, he's just in a slump right now. Hopefully he can get out of it. I think him, Blaney, Keselowski should be easy locks for the round of 8, potentially all 3. I guess we'll have to wait and see as that kind of defines itself. I might do another bracket video. Also, I'm gonna be looking back at my video from earlier this year at some point here pretty soon. Basically, just reviewing the picks I made at the beginning of the year. Just saying, my championship pick not looking so hot. So. And I might end up doing another bracket video. Depends on what ends up happening with everything going on. So I intended to actually get this video done last night, but I completely lost my voice screaming about Johnson making it through, not getting it, Bubba taking the lead, Bubba getting wrecked. I wanted to see Bubba win that one at that point. I wanted to see him get up there, maybe get that win, get into the playoffs. Sure, it would have shaken up the field with a fairly uncompetitive car, but I would have loved to have seen Bubba get that one. In the end, he still gets away with a top 5. I think that's his first top 5 of the season, too, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. Because I don't actually remember every race. Yeah, that was Bubba's first top 5 of the season. So, yeah, great finish for Bubba. Great finish for Brendan Gaughan in his second to last start to what he said, because he was another driver, kind of like Jimmy Johnson, came into this season basically as a retirement tour. Was going to do all the plate races. He ended up doing the Daytona road course as well, and he's scheduled for one more race at Talladega in October. Assuming it's still in October. I don't actually know how all the months are going to line up with all this, but I think it's all back on schedule, so yeah. Brendan Gaughan, though, top 10. Chris Buescher, top 10. I mean, lots of those guys. I mean, I kind of came into I go into pretty much every plate race thinking, okay, the top 2 cars to actually drive here would be either a Penske Ford or a Roush Ford. I don't know what it is about the Stewart-Haas cars, other than that one Talladega race in 2018. That was really the only time I remember them being particularly quick at these types of tracks, despite being in that Ford camp. But the Roush cars always pretty good here. And of course, you've got the Penske Fords, which are always a threat on these tracks. And actually, for the first time, I think we saw both former Roush driver Stenhouse, but also Keselowski kind of take it easy at the beginning of these races and not dominate the beginning of them. But yeah, in the end, though, this race was a tale of victory for Byron and defeat for Johnson. They have done it before. There's one instance back in 2013 where they added an extra slot to the playoffs. I'm not expecting them to do that for Johnson. I don't know how I would feel about that one because, like, personally, my emotions want to still see Jimmy Johnson in the playoffs. Still in a little bit of denial about him not being in it this year. But from a legitimacy standpoint, yeah, he missed it. Granted, I think if he'd been in that Indy race, I think he would have gotten a top 30, which would have put him ahead of De Benedetto at the end of the season, assuming everything else. Let's say he runs 30th at Indy, and then runs the same way he ran the rest of the season. He would be in the playoffs right now. So, I guess depending on how they determine with that COVID test, deciding on whether they want to, what they want to do with that whole thing. Personally, I guess in the end, I would probably say that if they were to do it again, I think this would be way more justified than adding Jeff Gordon into the thing, because I don't remember. All I remember was I was not necessarily the biggest fan of them doing that, because it felt like they were just adding him in there because they didn't have enough star power. This year, they've got plenty of star power in there, but I think it would be a way to try and make it fair for Jimmy after what was seemingly something completely out of his control and seemingly seems to have been a false positive potentially. I mean, we're just looking at how quickly he had the thing, but in the end it was a positive test and then 2 negatives, so he was able to keep racing. But he also did have plenty of other opportunities to go out and win races. If he'd been able to convert, say, that second Dover race, if he'd been able to convert that into a checkered flag, Daytona would have been a non-factor for him. Granted, he probably didn't have the car to do it, but that's just kind of my feelings on the whole thing. So feel free to let me know what you guys think of any of this stuff that I've mentioned down in the comment section. Of course, like the video if you guys did enjoy. And of course, share it with all your friends so that we can just kind of build up a nice little community here over on YouTube. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video, live stream, or whatever you guys decide to do the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye!